Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints.
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, it's the what of the podcast. It's Frank. How are you today?
I knew you were going to go there. I love it. Archimedes.
You get down here right now. When? I said when. Anyway,
Blow me to Bermuda.
This is not an episode on one of the best Disney movies, The Sword and the Stone. Really not one of the best, but it's one of my favorite anyway.
One of my favorites, too.
Yeah. But anyway, Frank, we're here on Beer with Geeks to talk about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. But first, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking one of my favorite summer beers. I have it every year on the show. It is the good old Switchback Ale from Burlington, Vermont. And it is a lovely amber ale that is refreshing as hell. I try to pick it up every summer, and I am enjoying the hell out of a 12-pack right now.
That's great.
Not the whole 12-pack at once.
I would assume, but, I can only see so much of you, so maybe there's 11 more cans hidden.
What you don't see,
right
there's just
camera.
Crushed cans all around me.
I have no idea.
Back here.
No, you're holding yourself together if that's the case. But, Frank, I'm drinking something, well, not new for me, but new for the show, I think. I don't think I've had this before. I'm trying one of the hard alcohols mixed with carbonation or soda or whatever. And so I didn't want a Jack and Coke. Those are too heavy for me, especially for the summer. But the Jameson Lemonade is something that took my eye, and it is good. It's really good.
Nice.
It's quite refreshing. It's only 5% alcohol, so you're like, "Oh, Jameson from a can. You're drinking so much." I'm like, I've had the beer I had last week had a higher content than what I'm drinking here. So, but it is very refreshing on this extraordinarily warm day here where I live.
Yes. We are in the midst of a bit of a heat wave, and we're not used to that in these parts. That's a lie. We're increasingly used to that in these parts. But,
absolutely, yeah. No, I just don't like it. I didn't like it when I was younger, and I don't like it now. We don't have. I mean, most people in our part of the country don't have central air, especially if our houses were built more than, say, 40 years ago. Correct, especially where you live, because you're more north than I am.
I'm even further north, yeah.
Yeah, so your winters are far longer than mine, and even just two states away.
Well, they were.
Yeah,
they were when this house was built.
Yeah.
The house was built to retain heat in the 50s, so it is... Yeah.
It's so warm.
Yeah, I'm glad we got air conditioning installed last summer, though. Before
yes, good for you. Yeah, our AC unit kablooied, so
that's
thank
rough.
goodness for ceiling fans right now. But that's okay.
Yeah,
that's all right, because we have an upstairs unit and a downstairs one because we added an upstairs to my house. This is This is information the podcasters don't need, the listeners, but you're gonna hear it anyway. We added a second floor to my house. And so the upstairs has a separate AC unit, and thank goodness, because I would not be coherent right now if that was not the case.
It's true. You're like you're like a retiring. You'd be like a retiring professor, retiring dean, who was no longer coherent. If that were to happen.
Real talk. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Great segue. Indiana Jones being an 80-year-old professor who almost refuses to retire, the most realistic part of this movie.
So spot on.
The one that's just like, I don't care about education or teaching or students anymore. I only care about my subject, and even then, I barely care. I'm just clinging on to this because why the heck not?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there are reasons, but, you know.
I mean,
But that to me just was like, yes, this is true. I don't know if I love the embittered Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
It felt a little bit too close to. Well, okay. Truthfully, I don't think I could talk about this movie without doing spoilers. So
let's just jump right into the spoilers.
Let's just jump right in. Yeah.
By now, I hope everyone who's listening to this has seen it.
Yeah, and if not, maybe this will convince you or to stay away or to watch it. But so, like, Indiana Jones is bitter because Mutt signed up for Vietnam and was killed in action. Right, his son Mutt.
Yes.
From
I found that very
dark.
shocking.
I was
so dark
for Indiana Jones,
and then it drove him and Marion apart.
Yeah, didn't like that. Honestly, I did. I mean,
right? We just got those kids together finally.
That's what I felt like too. And so it just felt no, it felt like it felt very meta to me, like Harrison Ford getting his groove back, like, you know, like Harrison Ford being a grumpy curmudgeon has been a joke for 20 years, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so, but I'd say maybe since Force Awakens onward, like he's like slowly coming out of his like curmudgeon-y self.
Yeah.
A little bit, like even like when he was in Rise of Skywalker and everyone was like, I can't believe that he came back again.
I know. Yeah.
Like I'm still a little shocked.
Even like the opening of Galaxy's Edge, the fact that he did that and like showed up and like sort of was like, all right, let's open this sucker kind of thing was like, wow, that's very different. Like you're like hitting the side of the Millennium Falcon like it's a used car, like this puppy right here.
Right. Yeah. Even him like being Thunderbolt Ross in the upcoming Captain America movie, like that to me is not the Harrison Ford of 15 years ago, right? And so of, let's say, Crystal Skull, like from Crystal Skull to Dial of Destiny, it's like a different type of Harrison Ford that I'm used to. And I feel like this movie is a little bit like Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones being bitter and learning not to be bitter about his trade, right? About what he used to love. Like it's basically his story, right? Like I used to be this fun-loving, swashbuckling Indiana Jones Harrison Ford, and then I went through this like tunnel of sadness, like. But now I'm out on the other. Now I'm out on the other side, and like when Marion asked, like, "Are you back?" Like, and you know, like, yeah, he's back. Like, and not just Indiana Jones, but Harrison Ford is back, and so like on that level, I really enjoyed this movie. And then also didn't love it. You know, I liked it. It's better than Temple of Doom and Crystal Skull. That's kind of like my line in the...
Better than Temple... Yes.
Temple of Doom is better.
It's definitely better than Temple of Doom. I'm not sure if it's better than Crystal Skull. And hear me out. I don't mean that as an insult, because I don't think Crystal Skull is quite as bad.
It's not. I agree.
It is remembered to be. So
it is not.
I would maybe put it. I have similar feelings about it as I had about Crystal Skull. I put them sort of in a similar.
Me too. Yeah,
a similar level.
I think the only reason that I think it's better than Crystal Skull is that it's stronger thematically. Like it's a better piece of character work.
Yes.
Than it is than Crystal Skull, which is basically another adventure, right? He doesn't like, apart from him and Marion getting together, like he's basically the same person at the beginning of the movie that he is at the end of the movie, like most Indiana Jones movies, right? He's like, you know, that's not the type of story that that they're telling. In this one, he's on an actual progressive arc from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. And that's what I liked about it and didn't like about it.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. I do like the through line, and it was a very clear through line of, you know what? It was a lot like, it's a lot of the same themes as like Wrath of Khan, right? Where we're talking about getting older and aging and what is my,
Purpose.
what purpose do I serve at this age, and all that kind of stuff. And I was getting a lot of those themes, and I liked a lot of the execution of it. I liked how meta it was about Harrison Ford and a lot of those, but I was on board for that stuff. There were some aspects of that though that I found less endearing.
What do you like? What parts do you mean?
I feel as though it is a little like that. Did they bring anything? Did they do anything new? Did they explore anything new with that? Because like I bring up the Wrath of Khan example, and it's kind of like that's one of the best examples of that kind of movie. Mm-hmm. I think. I see what you mean.
So it didn't do anything new in that subgenre of the older person discovering their purpose. I completely agree. It did. Yes. It did not add anything new.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm not saying that every movie has to add something new. Like I saw the newest Mission Impossible movie today. That movie does not add anything new to, say, the action genre or even the Mission Impossible movies, right? It's a good action thrill. Actually, I'm downplaying it. It was great. Like it was it was really enjoyable. I loved it. But it doesn't necessarily. It does like new adjacent. Like it's a new big stunt by Tom Cruise that I haven't seen before, or it's a new take on a villain that I'm sure like I've also seen in other things or whatever. But there's something about this, at least, but it like plays in its same lane, I think, and Dial of Destiny is playing in a slightly different lane. And like it's playing with with like Logan, like, or
sure, yeah,
it's kind of like sitting in that. Was that also James Mangold? That is James Mangold.
That is Mangold, yeah.
So he tried to do like, because he rewrote the script. I know that Marion's part was originally bigger when Spielberg was attached, and she got allegedly cut down. Not that there was a script or that she had read. I saw an interview with her, but like they were not separated in the previous.
See, I'm curious about that now because I really would have preferred that they were not separated.
Me too, because it feels like it's a backslide, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, which happens in life. Like, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, especially for the reason that they're separated, right? Because statistically, that's exactly what happens, right? Like couple split, it's easier to start a new life than to live in the presence of the person of their tragedy, right?
Yes. So, yes.
But here's the thing: it's Indiana Jones.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, like I yes, those things do happen, but like that's not why. I don't think that's why anybody went to see this movie, is to say, oh, let me see the tragedy of real life reflected back to me. Like, no, that's not why I'm there. I'm there to find out what Phoebe Waller-Bridge and this Dial of Destiny are all about.
Right, and I think that it's like it's the same issue I had with Force Awakens. With like, like Han and Leia were like, we can't be together because our tragedy with our son. Like, why is that the recurring theme of Harrison Ford's comeback career with these characters? Like, it's the same thing. And
it's like they're like, no, it'd be too predictable if they were together. So what if we subverted everyone's expectations by having them be apart, and then by the end they get together? How about that? Wouldn't that be?
Yeah,
and it's like that's now become a cliche in and of itself. Like trying so hard to subvert is now the obvious thing that almost like it's less interesting.
Right. That's almost why I like when you see something that just is what it is, and you're like, wow, how refreshing was that?
Right.
I just watched something that was good and didn't subvert a single thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of felt that way about Dungeons and Dragons, actually. Like that's a good example of like a movie that doesn't really, I mean, there are a couple things that like, it's not really a spoiler, but there's like a dragon in the movie because it's in a dungeon. Because it's Dungeons and Dragons.
Is there a dungeon?
But like the dragon is like pudgy, like he's really fat because he's like living in the cavern and whatever, and like barely moves, so he's fat. Like that's a funny subversion, but that's like it's not sitting outside of its genre or of it being like a fantasy heist or anything like that. It's just like a funny joke, not like, wouldn't it be great if people came to have fun at Indiana Jones, but they got sad? Like, that's not a good subversion.
Yeah.
That's not what I want.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. That aside, I actually really enjoyed most of this movie.
Same, yes.
Yeah. I thought the beats were good, the locations were good. I liked the...
Say it. Go ahead. Say it.
I don't know what you want me to say. It's been a few weeks since I've seen the movie.
The costumes were good.
The costumes were good. They were good. Good period piece. Like expensive looking movie. I know it had a $300 million budget. Like, did it need to? Is the big, like, 150 of it was to the first 20 minutes of this movie.
Totally. Yes.
But like the first couple of frames, I was like, wow, this movie looks great.
Yeah. It did. It was a very impressive start. It was really nice to have a younger indie adventure at the beginning of it again.
Yep.
Which we didn't get with Crystal Skull.
Nope.
Which I wonder is maybe that's just because they didn't have the
it would have looked
technology really
then.
yet.
Yeah, it would have looked awful.
So yeah, but you could have pulled have River Phoenix. What? No. Anyway, yeah, it was nice to have that come back, that tradition come back and then kick off the movie in media res with another adventure that's going to connect.
That's right.
Yeah.
Plus, truthfully, I think the de-aging was like 95% there. There were a couple of times where I was like, but mostly I was like, wow.
Mostly quite good. Quite good. Yeah. I felt about it, the way I felt about, like, let's say de-aged Robert Downey Jr. or Hank Pym, like good.
Sure, those sequences are just usually much shorter. Although
they are
the Downey Jr.
and they're not usually big action.
No, they're not. They're
like,
people just standing around, right?
Yeah.
What I found most compelling about the de-aging with that sequence is that he moved like a young man. It wasn't like watching The Irishman.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I was looking out for this. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So was that a body double?
I don't know, because Harrison Ford's obviously he's in good shape. Like, the fact that he was like 78, 79 when he made this movie, and they were like, we're comfortable with a shirtless scene.
Yeah. Yes.
Which, that's good for him. Like, you can still see the vein, like his bicep vein running down his arm. Like, obviously he's putting in the work. And so obviously some stuff's about body doubles and whatever else, but there's other times where you're like, that's him. Like, there's body doubling, and then there's like a very particular Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford movement. Mm-hmm. It's not like the Luke body double from The Mandalorian.
Right.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's Mark Hamill, baby, like, stood there, but like he's standing there, right? That's much different than like spinning your head back and forth and whatever. And that's I think, copyable, surely, but if you're going through you could have done the whole thing as a body double for that. So right. But the fact that I just don't know means that
that's the
whole thing worked.
That's the thing. Now, his voice did sound like 80-year-old. Harrison Ford, even when he's supposed to be 40 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So that I did catch that, and that for a moment, but like
it did and it didn't, because I was like, younger people have a higher register and they speak faster. Mm-hmm. And so those are kind of like the two telltales of like, this is how I can't remember what actor talked about this years ago. Like, how do you play a younger version of yourself? And like, you speak a little higher and you speak a little faster. So it's like, because that's how people talk. And for the most part, that's what he was doing. Like, even though his voice is, Harrison Ford, whatever,
something about the tone of his voice, particularly when he was yelling, like on the train yelling, there is a timbre that his voice has now in his older age that it didn't used to have quite as much. Mm-hmm. It's when he yells like, Chewie, get us out of here, like that kind of yelling. Mm-hmm. It's like that sort of gruff sound, but like is magnified now in his older age, and I heard more of that. Anyway, I'm nitpicking. My point is, the CG looked good. One thing I could tell was the voice, but I was very happy that he didn't have old age mannerisms. What do you think of Mads Mikkelsen?
I thought he was a great villain, like, because I loved that it was Operation Paperclip, like that he was the NASA guy, you know, and like, because that's very real, right? You know, like you were a Nazi scientist and now you're going to be an American scientist because we want to go to the moon or, you know, whatever. And so I very much, Indiana Jones, actually, I think the only Indiana Jones villain I actually find forgettable is, I'd say Temple of Doom, but like it's actually really not forgettable. I just don't love it. You know, like Kalima and, you know, whatever. But, you know, but the 1 and 3 are more like they're Nazis, you know, like,
they're Nazis.
You know, their motivation is to be a Nazi. And I actually like Kate Blanchett's communist, like from Crystal Skull. Like I like that it was the communist. That's just like, you know,
I'm cool with it being the communist. I thought it was just an underuse of Kate Blanchett. I didn't think it was sort of, I wasn't that impressed with her.
That's fine. Maybe she was having fun though. That's all that mattered to me.
I hope she was. It seemed like she was. Yeah.
But I liked him.
So much fun. She forgot to do the accent halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well.
Yeah.
I liked that he had what you assumed was a clear motivation right up until a certain point where he was like,
he wanted those damn kids to stop playing Magical Mystery Tour so loud, and that was his motivation throughout most of it.
Yeah, right. Well, I enjoy that. Like, you think he's going to go back and, you know, win the war, and he's like, no, I'm going to go kill Hitler because he's the reason that the Nazi, like, he's not a Hitlerist, he's a Nazi. It's like really, like, it was to me, that was something I didn't see, and I was like, that's clever. I enjoy that.
That was good subversion.
That's a good example of subversion. Know why? Because it still stuck within the story that it was telling.
Yeah.
I was a little confused as to who his right-hand man was. Like, whatever. I can't remember that guy's name. Aaron Tate? Aaron, I can't remember his name. The actor's name. He was also the right-hand man guy in Logan. He had like a exoskeleton hand. I cannot remember the actor's name.
Why can I not picture him right now?
I don't know. He's kind of forgettable. Truthfully, the mustache, kind of spiky blonde hair.
Yeah.
But so I was like slightly confused as to like, were they just like hired? Were they also Nazis? Like,
I was very confused about what their role was. Honestly, I guess they were mercenaries. Like, I guess they were guns for hire. But I was very confused about their role.
Yep. Yeah. So there was like stuff like that. I'm like, I liked Mads Mikkelsen, but I didn't care for what was around him.
The two Otises.
Yeah, I guess so. The Otises, exactly. And truthfully, I didn't care for Phoebe Waller-Bridge either.
Okay, I love Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and I was not like overly impressed.
She was more annoying than not through the movie. I didn't, and I like her too. I find she's very talented. She's funny. Like, I wasn't unimpressed with her performance as much as her character. Same. I felt like she was a little bit like antagonistic to be antagonistic. Mm-hmm. It felt like an odd switch in her character. Like, I know that she was trying to play him to get what she wanted out of him, but the turn didn't feel
so
right.
She wrote this movie to begin with, didn't she? Wasn't she hired to write and star in it?
No, I don't know. Great question.
I remember. I'm hesitant to use my one lookup still because I feel like I'm still going to need it. But I have a very vivid memory of that she was hired to write and star, and I think Mangold then rewrote it, or took a treatment and wrote the screenplay. I don't remember exactly, but I believe it was her version that had the stronger Marion plot line and some other stuff. So I wonder if, there was a little bit of a bait and switch where she was brought in, with like, oh yeah, you're going to write it. And maybe she ended up acting in a piece that was not really the story she meant to tell.
That's possible. That's but I don't know. Lucasfilm's weird, right?
It is.
It's weird. Like, I don't really know who this movie was for. Like, is it for Indiana Jones fans because they didn't go see it? Is it for kids because they didn't go see it? Is it like I don't know who this movie was like where they were expecting to make their money in this whole movie. It wasn't for Phoebe Waller-Bridge fans. Like
they didn't go see it either.
They didn't go see it either. Right, exactly. So I saw it because I like Indiana Jones enough to see the next adventure, but like Indiana Jones is not Star Wars, right? It's like it's of its time, not of it. You know, they're timeless, but like if they all of a sudden made Back to the Future 4, people aren't flocking out to see it. Right?
Yeah, right.
So I'm just not positive on that.
I agree. I think that Lucasfilm is, or rather, Lucasfilm under Disney is looking for a lot of the 4-quadrant winners. Like, let's try to get, a little bit of every demographic. And I think that for whatever reason, Disney with the Lucasfilm properties specifically really struggles to do that. They kind of water things down as a result, which is surprising because Disney is like the emperor of the 4-quadrant universe. Like they invented the 4-quadrant,
right.
But when it comes to these Lucasfilm properties, I feel like they might be, I don't know, sort of missing what makes them.
It's because they're pre-existing properties. They have to go off of the template that has existed when they weren't in the Disney wheelhouse in their IP. It's not the same with, say, Marvel. That's a fresh start, right? Even though there were Marvel movies before, they were made by a bunch of different companies. They had wildly different tones and and all this different stuff. This is like a continuation of what had come before. So you are, and truthfully, older stuff, what had come before. So like what was made in 1980 or 81 is not going to hit an audience the same way. It's not going to hit them the same way in 87, in 95, in 2009, in 2023, right? Or whatever. So I don't know. It's just like they're, I don't know. They're not grasping at straws, but I don't know.
I think that they are casting like too narrow a net and too wide a net at the same time. Like, because like to your point, like, are they going for the indie fans because they did not hit them with this? Are they going for the Phoebe fans because they didn't hit them with this? I think what it ultimately is these movies are probably best if you have like a vague sentimentality for Star Wars or Indiana Jones, but you're not a diehard fan. If you just sort of have a like, oh, I remember those movies. I liked those. Like, I don't have the poster on my wall, but like, oh, sure. I like an Indiana Jones movie. Like, I feel like they're more for that. Oh, look, the hat. They're showing the hat. There's a close up of the hat and the bullwhip. That's, cause you get that? Cause he wears the hat. Like it's a little bit for that.
But like those people didn't go see the movie either.
Well, maybe, but I think that's who they ultimately end up would appeal to the most.
I agree with. Yeah, and
that's like the closest I got.
Yeah, which is fun. I think that they're relying too heavily on like what the internet is saying about things. They're tracking the excitement of tweets or of hashtags and of like how many views of a trailer and like all that stuff. But that doesn't equate to like, am I going to spend my money on this? Because I'm eventually going to watch it for free ish a couple months later. And like, if it's not a conversation piece, then I'm just going to wait and watch it on my own.
And I might forget to watch it once it drops on Disney Plus.
That's a me. Like I just watched The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent or whatever it is, that Nicolas Cage movie, which was a lot of fun, but that was like good. Like, oh yeah, that movie, right? I wanted to watch that. Yeah, I wanted to watch that. I wanted to watch that, and that's that's the market that they're trying to hit. It's tough. I almost feel for these billion-dollar corporations, but certainly the creatives behind making them. Like this movie obviously took a lot of work to make. Like so obviously took a lot of work from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people.
I feel bad for the people who like whatever number of ILM artists who have worked on making Indy look like he was 40 years younger, and that great work, like you said, 95% of the way there, didn't get seen by a lot of people. They get appreciated. They put so much work into this, into their art, and didn't get seen by as many people as it should have for a $300 million movie.
Right.
I feel bad for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really feel bad for James Mangold. I don't feel bad for Kathy Kennedy or Bob Iger.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
Maybe Mangold, because I mean, like, he's directing the movie. Like it's all under his.
But it's
direction.
him that I hold responsible for the things that I thought could have been better, right? So like,
sure,
I don't feel bad for him. I'm more like,
well,
you're the captain of the ship.
You win some, you lose some. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Sure, I can see that. Changing course a little bit, what did you think of the supernatural element of this movie? Because all indie movies have a version of the supernatural element, right? The Ark of the Covenant and the spirits and the whatever.
Aliens.
Right. Well, so like, I'm going to say
1
and 3 mostly. Like, you just go right. Yeah, sure. Ark of the Covenant. Yeah, absolutely. The Holy Grail. Like, those are tried and true concepts, I feel like, that you just buy into. Crystal Skull didn't work for people. They're like, interdimensional beings, like, that feels a little far-fetched for a movie that had, that had a ghost Templar, the last time.
I know, right?
So, like, where is the dividing line that people have? Because I have it, too. Like, I remember watching Crystal Skull in the theater. I went, really? That feels a little weird.
I had that, too, yeah. But I think it's more because it was, like, it wasn't anything from, like, classical antiquity.
That's
right?
it. Yeah, right.
And that is why the Archimedes thing works for me better. It still gave me a little bit of Crystal Skull, sort of like felt like a stretch, but a stretch for the character. Like, it felt like not an Indiana Jones story to a degree, but it was rooted in, like, how many times did we keep going back to that battle, right? That he had studied his whole career. Like, it was rooted in actual historical events that he would be an archaeologist would be studying.
Right. That part I very much liked. Right.
Right.
Yeah. That's like the stronger thematic point that, say, like, that Last Crusade does well, right? The father's obsession becomes the son's obsession, or whatever. Like, that works. That is strongly done here in this movie. Convenient but strong. Like,
right.
Oh, he just happened to be teaching a lesson about this when Phoebe Waller-Bridge just happened to show up in his classroom, and it happened to be about the thing.
In every Indiana Jones movie, like, we happen to see him in the classroom at the moment when, like, it's always, yeah.
Sure, and X never, ever marks the spot an hour later.
No.
There it is, the giant
there
X.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Good subversion. Tiny inside the movie, right? Inside the movie.
Sure.
I mean, if you're wise enough, like he says, X is going to mark the spot, that somewhere in that movie, X is going to mark the spot, right?
Absolutely.
But he doesn't know that.
Chekhov's X, right?
Exactly. So I liked it because it allowed, like, this adventure allowed him, it was almost like personal. Like, it allowed personal in the way that Last Crusade was personal, right? It's like a little bit about his faith. It's a little bit about his dad and all this stuff. Like, Ark of the Covenant isn't personal. Like, whatever Temple of Doom is not personal. Like,
right.
Crystal Skull, not personal.
Not
really.
personal.
And so, apart from it being connected to an earlier adventure-ish, like, this is obviously connected to an earlier adventure, but also to, like, his friend, to his own career, to, like, all these different things. And I liked that. I bought into all of it from pretty much from start to finish. Even the time travel part of it, exactly. Like, that's fine. Like, honestly, I don't know if I would have been into it if I didn't have Crystal Skull. Like, I feel like in the world that because I got interdimensional beings, I can do time travel. That's how I felt about it.
Totally get that. Yes. Yeah. It's a much easier sell now that you're like, all right, you've already sold me on interdimensional beings. Like, I can buy this easier than I would have before. Because time travel also kind of feels like, that's sort of, it doesn't really feel like an Indiana Jones thing, but after Crystal Skull, anything kind of goes.
Yeah. The only thing that I don't like about it is that it's one, I feel like I'm watching a lot of movies about time travel. recently, or
Yes.
multiverse travel or anything like that. I'm just like, this summer, just jam-packed with them between Spider-Verse and The Flash and Indiana Jones, and I was like half expecting it inside of Mission Impossible today. Like, it's coming. I could feel it. Oppenheimer. It's going to be time travel. It's a Barbie. Barbie's probably.
Barbie.
Yep.
All about time travel.
It's all about time, or dimensions at least. So,
sure.
like, yeah. So that's not this movie's fault. It was just like hitting on, you know what I mean? It was like hitting on a thing that just everybody else happened to be hitting on. But like nobody expected these three movies to come out in the same summer because they weren't supposed to, right? You know, everything got delayed because of COVID. So like it just happened to be three similar-ish movies.
Right.
Or,
it just kind of worked out that way
because at least, right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like it was I'm tired of it by the end.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Like it's totally fair. And you can't help but sort of compare them, right? And sort of say like, who did it better? Mm-hmm. It may not be entirely fair to the movies, but it's a natural thing when they come out together that you're going to be reminded of the last time travel movie you just saw, and compare it or say like, again, another one, like that's just natural.
Thematically, what did you think about, like it being close to the space race and the Space Day parade or whatever it was like.
Yeah. Happy Space Day, by the way.
Thank you.
I thematically, I don't know that I have analysis on the space race piece of it.
It's kind of like, well, he's a study of antiquities, right? So he's going backwards, but that's the new frontier, right? And so he's like, that's like going to the next place that he's not willing to follow, right? That's not where he goes. However, like he ends up going to the new frontier within like the time travel, right? The most modern, because this is what they say is the next thing, is time and the multiverse.
Right, we've conquered space. Now it's time to conquer the fourth dimension.
Right, basically. And so, but that's like, so he like skips space, sort of. Because he did it in Crystal Skull, I guess, in a weird way, right?
He did, aliens. Yeah. I mean, aliens.
Yeah, but so like it was kind of like he went into the fourth dimension, kind of, and so I found that interesting that like the man who thought he was done, like, is the guy that went where nobody else has gone before. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought was interesting.
Did you think they were going to leave him in the past?
Yes, I totally thought he was going to stay in the past. Actually, truthfully, what were you going to say? Go ahead.
I thought they were going to leave him in the past and that he would end up being some kind of important role. Like I don't know. He was going to be Archimedes, or you know what I mean? Like he was going to be somebody significant from history or from that battle. Or something like that. I thought we were kind of going in more of that that direction.
So I like that he doesn't stay in the past. I'll put that out there. Like Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character was correct. Like this is not, you can't, like you will destroy everything. Like you have to return. But I thought before it kind of got into like, oh, it's a fixed point in space time, so you're like only going to go back to this spot and so on and so on and so on. I thought it was going to give him the option to relive his life. That's where I thought it was going to go. So, like, the adventure starts fresh again. So we, like, go back to, say, River Phoenix, basically. We go back to that fateful train escape, and all of that stuff. But then he's able to maybe correct some of his mistakes along the way, leading up to, like, basically the safety of his son, his relationship with Marion. Like I thought he would like allow him to like correct past wrongs. But ultimately, I'm glad that it didn't do that because at the end of the day, I thought it would have been it's just icky that they were like, he died in Vietnam, like Mutt died in Vietnam. And like, oh no, he didn't. I saved him. Like with time travel. Like I would have felt like good for them, but I would have felt gross about it. Like it's like feel like dishonoring the people who did give their lives, or for all those other, like in Vietnam, or for any other war, or for any other reason. So like I prefer what they did at the end than what I thought they were going to do. Yeah.
Yes, I prefer what they did over what I thought they were going to do. I agree. Yeah. I'm glad he didn't stay. I'm glad he didn't stay in the past. I thought he might, and I like, all right, I can see how they could do that, and they could make it satisfying. But I'm actually more satisfied with him coming back.
Me too. Although when Marion asks him, like, "Are you back?" and he like grabs the hat, it's very cute, whatever. But you're like, but you're still 80.
Answer the question.
Yeah. Like, what? Yeah. You're back, but what are you doing? You retired. I guess it's not so much like, are you back, but like, is the person that is the person back, right? Are you falling asleep in the chair drunk, or are you back? Indiana.
Yeah.
Indy back. Yeah.
Like she lost him when she lost Mutt.
Right.
And so like, are you back in that sense? Like, do I have you back?
Yeah. And so
emotionally,
Yeah. Which, so I guess I did like that. And I liked Sala. He was great. Just running around with his grandkids.
He was great. He didn't. What was his?
There he is. There's Sala. Like the hat. They showed the hat, and then they showed that guy.
Let's put a Welshman in a fez again. Like that was really all it was.
True, but you know what? True, but at least like
give him hell, Indiana Jones.
He was that character, in two movies.
I know.
Yeah, but
I know.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with you. But yeah, at the end of it, yeah, I enjoyed it a little bit more than Crystal Skull. Mostly because I didn't like Mutt. Anything else in Crystal Skull I can pretty much swallow, but I just never took to Shia LaBeouf in that movie.
Yeah. I guess I wish that Mutt was like still away at war or something and not dead from the war.
Yeah.
Like have some explanation why he's not around. Sure. Absolutely. I just wish he wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah. That just left a bad taste in my mouth.
And that's even like, I'm with you that I didn't care for Shia LaBeouf in that movie, but like story wise for Indy. Yeah. I wish that. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes, I wish that.
Yes.
Anyway,
but I enjoyed it on the whole. I would give it a B-.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am too. Yeah, it's like a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's like a B-, and Crystal Skull was like a C+. Is kind of where I would.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
they're very close.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll never be 1 and 3. Nothing ever could be.
Never.
So I wouldn't even want say that they could ever get close, but
correct. Yeah.
But it was fun, and if I was ever to if I ever had a time in my life where I was like if I wanted to show my daughter Indiana Jones, I wouldn't pass on this one, right?
Sure.
Be like, I'll only show them 1 and 3 because the other no, I'd skip 2.
No, yes, I would skip 2. But yeah, I've never been one for let's pretend these movies never existed type of thing.
No, because I saw it. It's in my memory. It definitely happened. I can't pretend that it didn't.
I saw it happen. You don't tell me it didn't happen.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, where can the people find us?
You can head on over to beerwithgeeks.com and find the show in the show notes there. All our back episodes, over 450 of them. You can hear our thoughts on the previous Indiana Jones films. We covered them ways back. You can use the search feature on the website to find those. You can find us in any podcast app. Farewell Stitcher. That's being sunsetted soon. But find us in any other podcast app. You can rate and review us there. You can subscribe or follow us so you never miss an episode. Ratings and reviews really help. So please do that. And another thing that really, really helps, if you really like the show, you can head on over to patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio, and you can support this show and the other shows on the Thought Bubble Audio Network and help us keep making them.
Oh, great, Frank. I'm so glad that you're here to tell everybody about those things. I was definitely listening to everything you said. Sounded correct.
Yes, I signed you up for $5,000 a month on Patreon. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, here's my Social Security card. You might as well just steal my identity. But anyway, Frank, it was a pleasure to talk to you, as always. So until next time, Cheers.
Cheers.